Hi everyone, welcome to another video. So today in this video, we'll be looking at some of the several things like seeing a demo app, how a demo app is created using Flutter and Dart. We'll use an Android emulator to see whether that app is working perfectly or not. And later on this video, we'll look at some of the things like what are widgets, how the Dart is working behind. So in the last video, we'll check about the installation process. What are the prerequisites, what were the prerequisites that were required. What are the third-party application that were required on which Flutter was based? We downloaded Git, installed VS Code, Visual Studio, and Android Studio. And in this video, we'll also cover some of the other things apart from widgets and the things that we'll cover in this video also are like the file structure, folder structure, and other things. So without taking any time, let's start. So this is the directory. This is the folder, you must say, is Flutter code with the name Flutter code is created. So we'll use this code, sorry, we'll use this folder throughout this course and we'll put all the codes here. So, so you should also start by creating a new folder because let's start everything from like end. Okay, let's start anything from a new folder. Okay, so this folder is created and now you need to click on this option. Either you directly open VS Code and go through the folder, select folder option, but this is the other way that I usually do. Opening terminal and then type here COPE and dot. So this is the shortcut for opening the VS Code. Okay, so our first task is to create a demo app. Okay, create a let me say demo. Okay, let's go. So we'll create a demo app. So for that, you need to click on the view. Either you directly open the command palette using the Control Shift P command, or you just go look at this option view, click on command palette, and you for creating a new project, you have to basically click on new project, Flutter new project. But let's first of all run the Flutter doctor just to check whether everything is working perfectly or not. So it says no issues found. That means all the prerequisites are already done and we are good to go. Okay. So once again, click on the view option, click on the command palette, and where is the sorry, Flutter run Flutter Doctor not run new project. Flutter new project. You have to click on the second option. And here there are several options like application, empty application, skeleton application, module, packages, and plugin. But today's task is to create a simple application. So why don't we just click on this option? Okay, so it's asking to select a folder. So yeah, we have already selected the folder and it's asking for a name. So why don't we give it tutorial 3 as this is the third video. I will give it enter. Okay, cool. So it says like Flutter create template. The template is creating, and you can see automatically all these directories, all these folders and files are there. Now, this is what a Flutter SDK does. Okay, so it has already created this whole code, this all folder, and later after showing the app, I'll tell you what this folder actually means and what are the value of these files. I mean, what is the work of these files, whether we can change or not, and who is it managed by, whether is it by us or the SDK or the compiler or the IDE, all the questions. So we'll all the question all so we'll all cover all the questions later on this video. But first of all, you can see it is like we didn't select any files or we didn't select any folder. By default, it opened a file called main.dart. So here you can see the use of Dart. Dart is like basically the main programming language behind Flutter. And you can see all the code is written by the SDK itself. We didn't write anything. So here this is the place. This is library directory. Library folder is where the magic happens. This is the file. This is the main file, main.dart. And throughout this whole course, we'll cover most of the time. By most of the time, I mean like 90%, 80% of time, we'll cover the part in this file itself, main.dart, because this is one of the most important file in the Flutter. Okay, so it has written some code like there's a function void main run app. Later in the next video, I'll tell you what is the work of run app, what is the working of my app, all these widgets and all these things. Cool. So by this program, I must say my a demo app has been built. Okay, so where to see this demo app? Is there any way to check whether this application written is working fine or not? So for that, we'll use an app emulator. So for opening an app emulator, we'll have to first we'll have to run this command. Okay. By default, it has selected Windows. Let's just run the command or start debugging or just run without debugging completely itself, uh, complete it to you. We'll press F5 though, function 5. So it has started building the project and also debugging has been started. So it is opening in debug mode. So you can see the window application. Currently, we're not using an Android emulator. It's the by default it has selected window application. Okay, so Dart is working behind. It's using some of its extension like Dart and Flutter. You can see the build has been created and cool. Wow, this is the magic. This is like the window application that we have created. We have not used an emulator later. Okay, after this part, I'll use that emulator. But you can see that, sorry, you can see this app is developed. So click on this, you press it, it will increase the number here, like 11, 12, 13, 14. But this is like in window application form. So you can see this build file is already there. So that there are all the binary files, all the build files that has been created are inside that directory. Okay, so the running execution has been stopped because we closed that Windows tab, but the Windows tab was not our problem. Okay, we need to use we need to use an emulator, or even if you want to use a physical phone, that's up to you. That will work too. I mean, there are some the changes like debugging tools, all those things you have to cover up. Later in the course, we'll cover that part too. Okay, so why don't we select a mobile emulator? Sure. So once again, we go to command palette. You click select device. So there is already an option of Flutter, select device. Okay, so there are already an app emulator, mobile emulator, because before making this video, and even in the last video, we created an app emulator. If you still don't know how to create an emulator, you'll have to. Okay, first we can try with create Android emulator. It will try to create, but I don't think so. It will work. No, there is not AVD present. So for that, you'll have to open Android Studio. So like in my case, it is showing two phones are already there. But if in your case there is not available, then you need to do only one thing. Directly open Android Studio. Like in the last video, we discussed how to create an app emulator. Okay, so you have to open this. If you are like in front page, maybe if I can possible not project. Okay, so if there is a new project, you need to go on this option, device manager. Okay, and yeah, just directly go to the device manager. You need to right now there is Pixel phone already. You'll have to create device and you'll have to click on this next. Click on any of these packages So next, all the so last, if you want to do, if you want to follow through this video and to follow through this process, you'll have to check the last video. So I already have these options available. So why don't we use this API emulator, Google Pixel phone? Cool. So the Google Pixel phone is already here. You can see you can reduce size, I guess. Yeah. So that's completely perfect. You reduce the size, and once again we'll have to run this command. So we can do one thing. Can do this. We can do this. Okay. So we have selected this emulator. This is like a working emulator. Okay. So once again, we need to click on this command or just press F5. That's it. So it's starting G phone, Google phone. So that means that it has detected the Google phone, which is based on x86 architecture. So here you can see the Gradle task. So Gradle is like an build automation tool, which is used for building an application or software. It is basically used in like app development, whether you use Android Studio or VS Code, it will be used everywhere. And later in the build files and like the Android files itself, I'll show you where the Gradle is. Why Gradle is important because in Gradle, there the build.gradle file, there is an application ID, which is required when you are trying to deploy this app on the Play Store. So the application ID needs to be matched on the both side. So let's wait for Gradle to assemble and debug whatever it does. Let's wait for a few seconds. And you know this program is completed. So you can say this build app has been built. Cool. Wow. Here you can see by itself it has shown the icon of Flutter. This that means it's working perfectly. Perfectly, yeah. Let's wait for. Whoa, you can see the magic here. So we built an app. We didn't. I mean, we didn't write any code itself. The Flutter created this demo app by itself, and you can see even with an emulator, if you directly connect to your phone, that's fine too. But with an Android emulator, we have seen the this app. You just need to click on here, and you'll see you'll see there's a message. Each time you click, there's a message. Each time you click, there's a message. That means they both are connected to each other. VS Code and this Android emulator is connected to each other. So I'll show you one more thing. I'm not sure if you are able to see this, but you can see it has written you have pushed the button this many times. Okay. So why don't we do one thing? We can do one thing. Why instead of pushed, I'll do something else. I'll show you the feature hot reload that I've been talking about since two videos. What hot reload is. This is like one of the most important feature of Flutter. I'll show you. So basically, this option here is the hot reload option. But first of all, I'll have to make some changes. Like let's search for the line in which it has written you have pushed the button this many times. So I'll check the line. Okay, we found this line. So instead of pushed, I'll say you have clicked the button and click on this. Wonderful. And you can see the clicked option is already there. Okay, so this is how hot reload works. If you didn't want to click on this option, just directly do Control S, Control Save, and it will do the changes by itself. Like I'll do one thing. I'll type my name, Rahul is a good guy. And Control S and see, wonderful. Rahul is a good guy. Similarly, I write your name, like if, if your name is Shankar. Shankar is a good guy. Shankar is a good guy. That's how it works, right? Let's keep it to default. You have pressed the button. You have pressed the button, push the button those many times. Maybe control S. Yes, you have pushed the button this many times. So this is the feature of hot relay. Okay. And we'll talk about some of the things like what is this code meant to say. What are things are we can we do any more changes to this icon or so basically what this code is. So later in this course you'll be able to perfectly write all of these codes and you can change the background color, you can put any images, you can do all those stuff. It's like very easy. We'll learn how to write Dart codes. We'll check out the file structure right now and folder structure, how we can change this structure, what is the best layout, and what is the best option, what actually it is widget because like from the last two videos I'm already talking about widget. Flutter is all about widgets. So we'll talk about all this stuff. Cool. So this is an Android emulator, and you can even use a different emulator. That's completely up to you. So why don't I show it to you? Okay, I'll just remove this Android emulator, close Windows, and yeah, system exited. It says simple. So once again, we can click on this Control Shift P, select device. So I used this one last time, and both are same, but just wanted to show you that both are working fine. I can do once more. It was on a cold reboot. Also, I'll dismiss it again, no problem. So yeah, it's like I created two pixel devices. I guess I saw. It's opening. We can wait use 2 minutes, I guess. Yeah, it's starting. Cool. It's cool. Right now there's nothing. Oh, so even after this, I can show do one thing. Okay, it's we can directly connect it like this. Let's remove this part. Uh, okay, we can do backspace, backspace. Change the code here once again. We have pushed, instead of pushed, we'll do pressed. We'll press the button, Control S, and let's run without debugging. We can also do this. Okay. So once again, it has dashed. Okay. Wow. So everything is working perfectly. That means, and here you can see pressed and pressed. That means our demo as app is working perfectly. There is no issue. There is no problem from our side. Not from the, not any problem from the VS Code side or Android Studio or Flutter, anything. Everything is working perfect. Next on, we will look at the file structure. We just minimize it. What is this? Okay, this is the Flutter. And by the way, you can save the code as it is. Now let's talk about the file structure. Let's go this. Let's talk about the file structure. So let's look at this folder structure. Let's zoom in a little bit. So you can see at first when we opened this directory, there was nothing, not even a single file. But as soon as we did for the new application, Flutter run new application, all these files were generated by its own. Now let us look what is the meaning of these files, these folder, what is the folder structure, what type of file structure it is. So at the top of this, let's zoom in a bit. So at the first you can see .do. Now what does this folder do? If you click on this, you can see some of the things here. So this folder contains files that are used by various Dart tools, and I guess it was newly introduced after Flutter 2.0, I guess. And this is created by Dart SDK itself, and it contains various build outputs and other tools. You can see Dartpad and Dart this. These are the build tools. Okay, and this folder is not typically modified by developers, and it is like generated by the SDK itself. Let's close this. Second is .idea. Okay, so this idea folder will contain settings that are related to code editor you are using to build the application. So these settings are specific to the current project. Okay, however, you can specify default project settings that are created applications will depict. Okay, so these are like related to the code editor that you are using. Okay, and like this is rarely edited manually, but most of the time it is managed by the IDE itself. You can see some of the XML files are there, and those are basically for the configurations. The third one is Android. So yeah, these folders are like platform dependent. This folder contains all relevant data to compile and create a working Android app or APK or app bundle, whatever you say. So there are two files that you most likely will need to edit during the development process if you are developing for an Android mobile. Okay. So one of that is like this build.gradle file. Okay. So build.gradle file in Android and inside this app, this is file build.gradle file. So it contains the application ID that I was already talking about that is required. So application ID will be somewhere. Okay. This build.gradle. Okay, we'll have to change this, but somewhere in these files it will be. Okay, so it will that is required when submitting the Google Play Store. When you are going to submit your APK to the Google Play Store, so make sure these values matches the value you specify in Google Play Console before uploading your app. Be sure to check the path. There is another build.gradle file in another Android subfolder. I'm not sure exactly where it is. Maybe yeah, this inside this source, this build.gradle file. Yeah, here it will have some IDs, if I'm sure. Yeah, application ID. Yeah, exactly. This is the application ID I was talking about. And yeah, these are like path and all these dependencies are there. And be sure to check the path. Yes. Then there is Android XML file. There will be Android manifest.xml file. In Android app source means source inside where it will be inside the main. Yeah. So this is like the important file. This is like will tell about the complete UI components. Okay, and here you can specify the intents or capabilities that your app is going to use, like when using 3D party packages, the installation instructions. It usually include detailed information on what needs to be added here. So everything regarding an Android app, like whenever I was even when I was learning Android app development with Java, also you wish configure all these files in the Android Studio itself. Okay, that's it for the Android folder. And yeah, again, be sure to check the path because there are other manifest files like these SRAs, source profile, and files like that. That's it for Android. And developers can add like platform specific code and assets, configuration, whatever they want to do. And the next is this build folder. Okay. So this build folder will be created when the Flutter build tools are executed for the first time. Yeah, you can even see all these files, all these files are the like build files. Okay. It contains the generated files that are needed to run the app on different platforms. And you can see that even each platform as their own subfolder. Yeah. Yes, that's it. Like this Kotlin, Windows, that is like oh the build components. And the next is iOS folder. This is the iOS folder. And like just like the Android folder, it is also like platform dependent, sorry. Like the Android folder, this folder contains files required by the application to run the Dart code on iOS platforms. Okay, this is basically for the iOS platforms. The main files under this iOS folders are like assets.execs folder and these folders, and I'm not sure it has got, yeah, they are files like this. And there is like info.plist file, and in the rest folder, resources folder and it contains like non-programmable resources required for application, and there will be file like info.plist somewhere inside these folders, which is like similar to Android manifest.xml file. It stores information required by the SDK of the application. If any modification is to be done to make the application specific to iOS platform, it should be done in this folder. Okay, in these folder. Next is lib folder, and inside the lib folder, like this is where the most of the thing will be done. This is where the magic happens, and most important folder of the project. Okay, and it is used to write like most of the Dart code. All the Dart codes that you have to write will be done inside this folder. If you want to add features, you want to add features like authentication and security, all the stuff can be done inside this folder itself. And by default, this lib folder contains the main.dart file, which is like applications entry point. This configuration, however, can be changed here. So overall, like lib is like the heart of the Flutter app. It contains Dart code, including a main entry that is main.dart file. And like users spend most of their time here. Sorry, developers spend most of the time here, adding new dot files and widgets and other things. And similarly, Linux and Mac OS are similar to the Android. Like they were platform dependent for Android and iOS. These are for Linux and Mac OS. Sure. Okay. So this is a test. Okay. The test folder. So all your test files will be there. So it structures mirror of the left folder. Whatever in this the mid folder, it will have the mirror of like test. Even we can do this test by itself, and even compiler sometimes perform these tests to check whether everything is going fine or not. Like for unit, widget, and integration testing, these are the files. And these are like essential for verifying app functionality and preventing regressions. And it also contains Dart files that test the app's logic and UI. That's it. Not much of the things about this folder. And similarly, about the web and Windows folder, like for this, these are mainly for like desktop and web support, and it contains like platform specific configurations in code, and only present if the project is set up for the those desktop or web support. Okay, if you want to like create your application for desktop or even if for web support, then these are the files that you need to configure somehow. And there are some of the remaining files, and even these folders, there are like several other files, several other folders. I mean, but not most of the work we have to done inside the left folder only. So those folder are like you should have a general idea about that because we don't usually do changes on those folders. But these folders are like we can change do changes in these folders, like the git file, sorry, like the git ignore file. If you are familiar with git and gitup, so git ignore file is like if you want to remove any file with what you say with a particular extension in the end, like there inside a folder, like there are several txt file and several video files, but you want to ignore the files like .exe files are also there. Okay, so you want to only keep the like music files and videos files, and you want to ignore the exe file. So inside these exe files, you will write like like .exe, like in this case that. So some of the files like .class, .pic, and these files are ignored, even they are not showing in here. Okay, yeah, you can add your files itself. And the next one is metadata. It's also important because it contains like version information. And this file is like auto-generated by Flutter and not typically edited by us. And this have the analysis options .yaml file. This configures the like what Dart static analysis. It configures those analysis, and developer can define like custom linting rules. You can also add your own rules and other analysis setting, whatever you want to do. These file can be changed and the main thing is like it helps to maintain code quality and consistency. Okay, because we are adding our own lint rules, so we can say that okay, the code quality will be good. And similarly, talking about pubspec.block, and it like shows it lists the exact version of the dependencies, exact version. This is like the helpful file for the pubspec.yaml file. So it is showing the like exact version, even when it's like the SHA-24 256 dependency translative version hosted and SHA-256 and all those things. And these icons are already there and fake async and all those things. And talking about the pubspec.yaml file, so it defines like project metadata, dependencies, and assets. And even you can see here it tells about the SDK environment, it tells about the dependencies like Flutter SDK. It's like similar to log file, but somehow it is like different from it because that log file was like helping this file because the log file exact versions are shown. Okay, then we have this readme.md file. Like if you are familiar with GitHub, then you might be able to know what readme.md file is because it is like for the documentation purpose. If you want to like tell the whole tutorial, what are the steps to follow, then this is the file for it, readme.md file. And even these are like for tutorial 3, there's a readme that is like generated by itself. Okay, and even if you want to see the files, like let's check. Okay, we can see let's try GitHub. Okay, this is the GitHub of Flutter. And if you check any of the repositories, and let's packages. Okay, so all the things that you see inside here are part of this readme.md file. Okay, so you can see like what is the use of data this readme.md file, and the most of the things like its way of writing is different, and the way of like how it appears, how it output goes is completely different. That's why it is very important. Let's get back to the GitHub, the VS Code. And then we have this file with the similar name. Okay, so you might know like at the starting when we were typing the application name, at that time we showed the tutorial 3. That's why it has a name with tutorial3.iml file. It is like contains it basically contains like project configurations and settings, and we rarely edit it manually, and it is most of the time managed by IDE. Okay, yes, that was it for the file structure and what do we call it, like folder structure. What is the use of these default apps? Like just of think if you want to add some more dot files, if you want to add some more services, if you want to add a functionalities for authentication. So all of the things you will need to do inside this file only. Okay, and there's some other things that we can discuss in this video, like like the different like folder structure. So these are only the files, like how normal files, like default build files. But there are different types of folder structure in Flutter, like folder by type, folder by layer, folder by feature, folder by feature layer, and so many. And most common I see is like folder by type. Even in this demo also, the folder structure that is it is selected is folder by type. Okay, because it doesn't do much of the things, but still. And the most famous is like folder by type and folder by feature, where we add like layers inside layers. Because like just think of one case, like if there is an authentication file, I mean there is a functionality for authentication. So and like folder by feature, what we do is create a folder with authentication, and all the files that are like dependent on this authentication will go inside a similar file. Okay, we can discuss more on the later part and in the next few videos. But in this, I'll just give you a like basic demo how the folder by type works. Folder by type is like similar, normal. Just just create another dot file. But folder by feature is a bit different. As I said, like if you want to create a functionality of like storage, so you will in the most cases you want like all the storage related files to be inside this folder, and all the authentication related files to be inside the authentication related. Okay, we can also check so the most common fold uh, folder structure for Flutter. Yeah, lib structure says it's layered structure, they're like folder by layered, but most of the times the folder by type is also there. File structures, yes. Yeah, it is like talking about like what we already discussed in this case. I mean, I saw some of the videos, like, yeah, video of Flutter explained really good. And I mean, like for the small projects, folder by this type is pretty common. But as you make like complex apps, complex applications, then you need to configure your folder structure also. Because the more scalable you will make it, the more functionality it will get. It will be more easy to read. And if there is another developer that wants to do like changes in your code, then it will be easy to work. Otherwise, if in most cases, for like if the project is pretty complex, like folder by type is not really helpful because it becomes completely messy. Okay, so so based on the preferences, there are like different ways, and I'm just talking about like normal terms like folder by type, folder by layer, folder by feature. But there are really so many other variation that people usually try. One of them is folder by type that is in the current status. Is like usually used for small projects. I mean, in the further videos, we can check like how to make a folder by type, how to make like folder by layer, how to create folder by feature, folder by feature layer, and other things. But it's completely for the later videos. Okay, so that was it for today's video, I guess. I'll do a quick recap. First of all, we created demo app, and we created this Flutter demo on the emulator. I'll just type it right now. This part is done, and use an Android emulator for app done. Then we also used it with like use for Windows done. And then we file slash folders structure. This part is also so in the next video probably we'll talk about some other things, some other topics that are related like assets, what are libraries, and most importantly, what are widgets. Why we always call like Flutter is all about widget over widget over widget. Okay, that's it. That's about that video. Okay. See you again in the next video. Thank you.